Well, yeah. Uh, I think for me, when I first read through this paper, so are you trying to like kind of see how I would approach this paper? Okay. Um, so like I've said, honestly, just read through it one by one, and I know it's really hard. So, um, do you have the abstract? Can you pull up the paper? Okay. So you see how it's like there's the abstract, and then below that it's just like there's nothing much else, right? It's just a giant blurb of words, right? Yeah, yeah, they didn't define like the methods or the introduction or anything because it's a different type of article, or it's like in nature articles they usually don't do that, right? So, essentially for this article, you kind of gotta read through it and see what they're trying to do, and it's structured so that it should fit in like a way that makes sense. Like it should just you should read through it and it should make sense. So yeah, for like articles like these, there's nothing much you can do. Like you can't just hop around from the intro to the methods or anything. You kind of had to just read through it. So that's what I did. I read through the abstract, and then I read through each of the paragraphs. And you know how I make the summaries for each week? Yeah, for that, no, I don't use ChatGPT to summarize anything because honestly, I think just writing down the summaries myself helps me understand it way more. Obviously, that takes much more time, and like for last week's paper, it took me like 2 hours, but this took me like 3 hours. So it's a lot of work, but that's just how you get to understand the paper fully. Obviously, y'all like as members, I'm not expecting all that out of you. So ChatGPT is your best friend. Like, it's not. It's just such a great way to analyze everything so quickly. So like, let's look at the abstracts. The abstract is just one paragraph, right? From the first sentence, what's one word you don't get? Just from the first sentence, the first word that trips you up. Okay, so I think pathogenesis of Parkinson's disease. Um, just reading that line, do you kind of have an idea of what it's implying, or do you just not know what it is at all? Yeah, because like pathology, that usually implies to like disease and like how the disease works. Pathogenesis, like genesis, that's beginning, right? So pathogenesis, that would mean like how the disease starts. But I'm not like you can't just get that immediately. You have to analyze the word, and I'm not expecting any of y'all to do that with every single word. So in context like this, pathogenesis, you have two options. You can just infer the context and skip through it, or you can ask ChatGPT. But it gets at a certain point, it gets to like a level where you're just asking ChatGPT for every other word, and that's not really effective either, right? So you kind of have to learn which words to filter out and which words to actually investigate. And in this case, or in specific research papers specifically, my recommendation is to investigate actual, I guess, scientific vocabulary rather than just complex words like pathogenesis. Because, yeah, asinucline, this you can obviously tell it's scientific vocabulary, right? And it's obviously important because it's mentioned in the abstract like in the first sentence. So as soon as you get in the abstract, some of the first scientific vocabularies you see, those you're gonna have to search up through like Google, ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT like, give me a very brief rundown of what asinucline is, and then they'll give it to you, and then you just kind of gotta learn that, and as you're going through the paper, you'll just become accustomed to it. So yeah, asinucline aggregates. In this paper, asinucline is like a protein, and it aggregates when it's misfolded. So like these misfolded proteins, they like bounce around in your brain. In the most basic sense, they just bounce around in your brain, and they ruin parts, like they ruin your neurons. And then that's how that's how Parkinson's starts, or that's how the pathogenesis of Parkinson's comes about. So this paper, if you're just looking at the first sentence, you can tell that it has something to do with Parkinson's and how Parkinson's starts, and then it has something to do with this protein called asinucline and how when it's misfolded, then it might have relations to causing Parkinson's, right? Yeah, if you search up, like, if you ask ChatGPT, what is a synuclein aggregate, then it'll give you, actually, let me pull it up right now and I'll just show you, because I did that too, and it was concise and it was very straightforward. One second. So I'm also recording this, so like the video can probably see all the things ChatGPT is saying. But yeah, it's like explaining a lot. And also, if you ask ChatGPT for one vocab word, then it often, like, it gives you a big definition, right? And as you read through what ChatGPT is saying, you can also find other keywords that are featured in the article because, you know, they're all related. So yeah, fibrils. So yeah, just like asking ChatGPT big words one by one, and then it'll all kind of piece together. So yeah, we have asynuclein aggregates in the midbrain. And then you notice that ChatGPT classifies asynuclein aggregates into 4 different things, right? Monomers, oligomers, fibrils, and then aggregates. So just reading this, we can already get a way better idea of what the abstract's talking about, because the ChatGPT definition mentions fibrils and then things like Lewy bodies, as you can see. And then if you look at the abstract, obviously the word fibril and fibrillization is very prevalent, and then they also talk about Lewy bodies. So that's already 3 different vocabulary words that you got down from just one thing that you're researching. And by asking ChatGPT for just one word, you can actually piece together the different words and internally learn within yourself how they're related. So yeah, that's why I think ChatGPT is such a good resource, not just because it gives you a straight definition, but because it gives you a comprehensive definition that's easier to understand, that helps you yourself piece together the other words that may be featured in the article. So yeah, let's just finish up reading through the abstract. Here we see that graphene quantum dots inhibit fibrillization of A sign and interact directly with mature fibrils. So looking at that sentence, what's the question? What's something you understand now, and what's the question you have? Yeah, but okay, so that interaction is essentially what the whole study is going to be about, like the specifics between that. But you can tell that since we know what asynuclein is and what fibrillization is, then we can see how this all works together. So GQDs inhibit fibrillization. Inhibit means obviously reduce or prevent, and then fibrillization. So we learned that fibrils are the misfolded clumps coming together, right? So inhibiting fibrillization would mean it would prevent the clumps from coming together. So essentially it's saying that GQDs can prevent from all these misfolded proteins from coming together. And what would that mean? That would imply that these misfolded proteins wouldn't be bouncing around in your brain causing Parkinson's. So yeah, and it also says it interacts directly with mature fibrils. So that means that fibrils that are already made, that have already come together, GQD can actually reverse that. So it's saying GQD has basically a twofold thing. It can prevent and it can reverse. So yeah, and then Lewy bodies are also mentioned. So Lewy bodies are like the fully formed ones. It can reverse that. So that's what the abstract is. That's essentially the main theme of this entire paper. It's usually in the it's always in the abstract, the main theme. And in here, the main theme is that this specific thing, the graphene quantum dots, can be a possible therapy against the misfolded proteins that cause Parkinson's. And then try reading through the rest of the abstract, and then like just give to me words that you don't understand. Okay. So you basically have an idea of what the abstract is about, right? That means you have an understanding of what the whole paper is about, because the abstract is literally just the whole paper, but in a couple sentences. So after you read the abstract, you have a basic idea of what the entire paper is about. And then that's when you have to start getting into, especially for this article, just one by one going down each paragraph. This article has 12 paragraphs, and then it has a methodology section. If you can see, like if you scroll to page 6, it says methods. Yeah. If you're just using the web thing, if you scroll down, you should see it, the methods. Yeah. So this paper is interesting because it basically has the results first and the discussion, and then the methods are basically just in like you engage with the methods later on in the paper. And the methods is also like six pages of methods, because this paper used such complex, like such niche, really like hard to understand methods. It's in a whole separate section. So don't go through the methods first. Go through the first couple paragraphs, the main article body, and then that's how you're gonna get to understand what this paper is saying. And then if you're interested, you can go into the methods, but the methods are gonna be really hard to dissect and really complex. So yeah, go into that after you first read the first 6 pages, or whatever pages it is for you on the website. So yeah, and right now I think, do you have any other questions regarding the article or the abstract? Well, one thing I am going to be handing out is obviously this the summary I'm making. Like I already finished it, so you can read through that. I hope that helps. I tried to use like the like easier words, and this was really hard for me too. So like I was stuck on a single paragraph for like 30 minutes yesterday, and then I just had like took a nap and then came back, and then I could understand it a little bit better. So sometimes like if you really can't understand it, like sometimes that means you have to take a break. But reading an article isn't something easy, definitely. Like an article like this is definitely not something easy at all. And hopefully my resources help you. I'll also be sending out YouTube videos for like, you know how we analyze acytocline and then like fibrils, because that's a key word, right? So like I found all the main things from this article, like the big words that you need to know, and then I'll like kind of send YouTube videos based off of that, and hopefully that helps you out a lot too. But then as for just reading the article right now, I mean it's a matter of just getting through a paragraph, trying to understand what it means. If you have any words, if a word keeps coming up over and over in the paragraph, then you can try searching it up on ChatGPT, because if a word just appears once and it's gone, it doesn't appear again, that probably doesn't mean it's that important, right? But something that appears over and over, then that means you gotta search it up on ChatGPT. So for each paragraph, read through it first, even if you don't understand like 2% of it, just read through it first, and then you can start asking around. Like, I know it feels like a lot, but realistically, each paragraph taking 10 minutes, that means you're only spending an hour on this article. So yeah, just like, you don't need the perfect understanding. I just want everyone, this goes to you and this goes to everyone in the club that might be watching the video I might make. I just want y'all to have a decent amount of confidence in the article. You don't need to understand it fully. Just have a decent amount of confidence. You can ask any question you want. Like, it doesn't have to be super detailed or anything during the meetings, because if all we're gonna do is ask super detailed questions, then that's just like excluding most of the club. That's excluding me too. I don't know some of the questions that like some of y'all may have that's super detailed or niche. So just any questions you have, ask me individually if it's like something you need to understand the article for, and if it's just something that you want to have a discussion on, then ask it during the meeting. And don't be afraid to ask, because I personally would love to answer any type of question, and I just want to have a I'd like to have like a big discussion with as many people as possible. So yeah, um, Jaden, this is probably gonna just reading through this article. Like I when I did it, I understood very little of it. You're probably gonna understand very little of it too. But hopefully my resources help. Do you have any other questions? Uh, yeah, I think articles like last year when I did this club, it was really hard for me. Like it was really really hard for me because I a lot of the articles like I was new to it. I didn't know how to read articles, but I think you just kind of get used to it. It's not like you're able to look at a word and then just immediately know what it is. That happens to no one. But I know the process, and I also have the patience to read through because last year I remember I had little patience because I didn't know how anything worked. So I'd read a sentence and then immediately go search it up. But now I have the patience to kind of look through a paragraph and then maybe kind of get a gauge on how the paragraph works, and then go do the research I need to because that's much more efficient than just searching up each sentence or each word and doing some useless research that has like very little to do with the actual article. So yeah, just build up that patience. Don't panic because when you start panicking, then you want to search up each and every word. You don't have to do that. Don't try to understand everything. It's just a process. The more you read, the better it's gonna get. And like I said, when you're having a really hard time like getting through a single paragraph, and you can't focus at all, take a break. It's okay to take a break. Thank you.